Okay, so at this point in the year, I genuinely thought I had experienced every possible 5th grade disaster there was. Kindergarten mix-ups, secret chicken clubs, exam panic, a new kid turned friend, a phone mystery, a secret admirer, getting lost in a museum. I figured, at this point, nothing could really surprise me anymore. Then Mrs. Turner announced our next big group project, and my entire 5th grade year decided to prove me wrong one more time. The project this time is a history presentation about ancient civilizations, and honestly, that part sounds kind of cool. We get to pick a civilization, research it, and present it to the class with a poster and everything. Marcus and I are already whispering plans about doing ancient Egypt. Mostly because Marcus really wants an excuse to talk about mummies again after the museum trip. Except then Mrs. Turner says the sentence that ruins everything. I'll be assigning partners for this one based on reading levels to make sure groups are balanced. Balanced groups. Assigned partners. My stomach does that familiar drop it always does whenever a teacher says those words. Because at this point I have a very complicated history with assigned partners. She starts reading off names, and my heart is pounding, praying it's not going to be someone impossible to work with. And then she says it, Robi and Ethan. Now if you don't know who Ethan is, let me explain. Ethan is, without question, the most competitive kid in our entire grade. And I don't mean competitive in a normal, fun way. I mean competitive in a way where he once cried during a game of classroom trivia because his team lost by 1 point. He takes literally everything, and I mean everything, as a personal challenge he has to win, whether it's a spelling test, a game of tag, or apparently now, a history project. Marcus, sitting next to me, immediately turns and mouths, "Oh no," which is exactly the reaction I was hoping to avoid, but also exactly the reaction I was expecting. Ethan, sitting a few rows up, turns around and gives me this incredibly serious nod, like we've just been assigned to some kind of military mission instead of a poster about ancient civilizations. At lunch, Ethan actually comes and sits at our table, specifically to talk about the project, which, fine, responsible, I guess, except he immediately pulls out an actual notebook labeled Project Plan, and starts talking about deadlines like he's running a small business. He goes, "Okay, I already picked our civilization. We're doing ancient Rome, and I already outlined 6 sections we need to cover. Plus, I think we should aim to have our poster finished 4 days early so we have time for revisions." I just kind of stare at him, because I haven't even fully processed that we're doing this project yet, and he's already talking about revision schedules. I go, "Cool, sounds good, but maybe we could also just, have some fun with it too." And Ethan looks at me like I just suggested something deeply insane, going, "Fun isn't really the goal here. The goal is to get the best grade in the class." Okay, I want a good grade too, but there's wanting a good grade, and then there's whatever intensity level Ethan is operating on, which honestly feels closer to preparing for war than preparing for a 5th grade poster project. We start working together after school at the library, and it becomes very clear, very quickly, that Ethan and I have extremely different working styles. I like to research a little, talk about cool facts we find, maybe joke around a bit, then get to work. Ethan likes to research in complete silence, taking detailed notes in perfect handwriting, occasionally sighing dramatically whenever I make a joke instead of immediately writing something down. At one point, I find this genuinely fact about how ancient Romans used to brush their teeth with. And I promise I am not making this up, actual crushed up mouse brains, and I immediately turn to Ethan going, "Dude, to put this on the poster, this is way too funny not to include." And Ethan just goes completely serious. "That's not relevant to our main thesis about Roman government structure." Which, technically, but also mouse brain toothpaste deserves recognition. That's just objectively true. Things get more tense the more we work together. Ethan keeps redoing sections I've already written because he thinks his wording sounds more professional, which starts to feel less like teamwork and more like he's just trying to erase my entire contribution to the project. At one point I write a whole paragraph about Roman gladiators, and I come back the next day to find Ethan has completely rewritten it, and when I ask why, he goes, "I just made it better," without even asking me first. I finally snap a little, going, "Ethan's is supposed to be a team project, not just your project with my name attached to it." And Ethan, looking genuinely surprised, goes, "I'm just trying to make sure we win." And I go, "It's not a competition, it's a class assignment, there's no winning, there's just getting a grade." Which apparently is a concept Ethan has never actually considered before, because he just kind of sits there processing that information like I just told him gravity isn't real. The tension reaches its peak the night before the project is due, when Ethan calls me at 8 p.m., insisting we need an emergency meeting to review the poster one final time. I'm exhausted, slightly annoyed, and honestly just want to relax after a long day. But I agree anyway, because at this point, avoiding conflict with Ethan feels easier than actually having the conflict. We're on a video call, going over the poster together, when Ethan suddenly goes quiet for a second, and then goes kind of awkwardly, "Hey. Sorry if I've been kind of intense about this whole project," which genuinely catches me off guard, because Ethan does not really do apologies, at least that I've witnessed so far this year. I go, "It's okay, man, I just want this to actually feel like we're working together, not like you're just tolerating me being here." Ethan actually opens up a little, explaining that his older brother is apparently super competitive too, and always compares grades and projects, and Ethan feels like he always has to prove himself, even in 5th grade poster projects that genuinely do not matter that much in the grand scheme of things. Which honestly kind of explains a lot about why he's been acting the way this whole time. Oh dude, you don't have to prove anything to me. I actually think you're really smart. You don't need 6 sections and a revision schedule to prove that. Ethan actually laughs a little at that, admitting the revision schedule was maybe a bit much, even for him. We end up spending the rest of that call not just finishing the poster, but actually talking, like actual normal conversation, not project manager mode Ethan, and it's honestly the first time all week that working with him has felt kind of fun. The next day, we present our Roman civilization project to the class, and somehow we actually make a pretty great team once we're not constantly butting heads. I handle the funny, engaging parts, throwing in random facts like the mouse brain toothpaste thing, which gets a genuinely huge laugh from the entire class, while Ethan handles the more detailed structural information, keeping everything organized and clear. Mrs. Turner actually compliments us afterward, saying it was one of the most well-balanced and entertaining presentations she's seen all week. Ethan, standing next to me after class, actually goes, "That went really well. Good job, partner," which, considering how intense this whole process started, feels like a genuine, actual compliment, not just something he's saying to be polite. So yeah, that's the story of how I went from dreading being paired with the most competitive kid in our entire grade to actually understanding him a little better and somehow producing one of the best projects I've done all year. Turns out sometimes the person who seems the most impossible to work with just needs someone to remind them that grades and projects genuinely aren't worth stressing about that much, especially not in 5th grade. Next time, things get a little chaotic in a whole new way, because a rumor's spreading around school, and let's just say it did not start from me, but it's definitely about me, and it spreads way faster than anyone expected. You do not want to miss what happens when the whole school starts talking about something that isn't even true. Subscribe so you catch it the moment it drops, and let me know in the comments if you've ever had a group project partner who took things way too seriously, because apparently that's basically a universal 5th grade experience. See you the next one.